Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go.
The email arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was in a board meeting reviewing Q3 projections for my company's expansion into Southeast Asian markets. Subject: Dad's new venture launch family event. I opened it during a brief recess, my CFO still discussing our recent $2.1 billion Series F funding round in the background. Dear family, Richard is proud to announce the launch of Harrison Consulting Group. This exclusive event will bring together industry leaders, executives and business professionals from across the region. Dress code: business formal. RSVP by Friday. Industry leaders only. This isn't appropriate for you, Jennifer. Perhaps it's best you celebrate separately. Mom. I stared at the screen for a moment. 12 years. 12 years since I'd graduated from State College with a computer science degree while living in their basement. 12 years since Dad had told me, tech is a fad. Get a real job with benefits. 12 years of building what would become one of the fastest growing enterprise software companies in North America. My phone buzzed. Mom's text: Your cousin Andrew is bringing his attorney wife. The Mitchells are bringing their daughter who works at Goldman Sachs. It would be awkward. I typed back, understood. My assistant knocked on the conference room door. Ms. Harrison? The CNBC production team confirmed for Thursday. They want to start filming the documentary segment at your home office first, then follow you through a typical day at headquarters. I nodded. Perfect. Confirm with them. Also, Forbes called. They want to move up the cover shoot for the tech's new Billionaires issue. Apparently you're the lead story. I smiled slightly. Tell them next week works. I wasn't always the family disappointment. That designation came gradually, earned through a series of choices my parents couldn't understand. It started in high school when I spent more time coding than studying for AP classes. Dad, a mid-level manager at a regional bank, would shake his head at my computer screen filled with lines of code. That's not going to pay your mortgage, Jenny. Focus on your GPA. Mom, a real estate agent who measured success by the size of your house and the brand of your car, would sigh dramatically. Why can't you be more like your cousin Andrew? He's pre-law at Duke. I graduated with a 3.6 GPA and a full scholarship to State College. Not impressive enough. Andrew went to Duke. My younger brother Marcus got into an Ivy League school for business. I was the tech girl who chose the affordable option. In college, I built my first successful app, a project management tool I sold to a small startup for $47,000. I used the money to fund my living expenses and invest in better equipment. I told my parents I had a part-time job. Dad's response: good. At least you're being responsible. After graduation, I turned down a $95,000 offer from Microsoft. My parents were furious. $95,000. Dad had shouted. With benefits. A real job. I'm starting my own company, I explained calmly. Mom literally laughed. Jenny, be realistic. You're 22 years old. You need stability. I have 3 clients already and $180,000 in seed funding from investors. Dad shook his head. Investors. Do you know what percentage of startups fail? Get the real job, build experience, then maybe think about this pipe dream. I didn't get the real job. Instead, I rented a tiny office space with 2 friends from college, and we built what would eventually become Nexus Enterprise Solutions. For the first 3 years, my parents introduced me as still figuring things out at family gatherings. When I bought my first house at 25, a modest 3-bedroom in a good neighborhood, Dad asked how I could afford it. The company's doing well, I said simply. Tech bubble, he replied. Don't overextend yourself. At 27, I hired my 50th employee. My parents thought I managed a little tech startup. They had no idea we just signed a $12 million contract with a Fortune 500 company. At 29, we went public. The IPO raised $340 million. My shares were worth $1.2 billion on paper. I was featured in TechCrunch, Forbes, and Bloomberg. My parents didn't read those publications. At Thanksgiving that year, Dad asked when I'd settle down and get a stable career. I was the CEO of a publicly traded company worth $3.8 billion. I said nothing. By 32, Nexus Enterprise Solutions had grown to a $6.8 billion valuation. We employed over 2,000 people across 4 countries. I'd been featured on magazine covers, invited to speak at conferences, and served on advisory boards for the Department of Commerce. My parents still thought I worked in tech, doing something with computers they didn't understand. Meanwhile, my brother Marcus had become a mid-level marketing manager at a regional firm. My cousin Andrew was a junior partner at a small law practice. They were the success stories. I was the one who never quite lived up to her potential. On Wednesday, Dad called. It was rare enough to be notable. Jennifer, about Saturday's event. I saw the invitation, I said, reviewing a contract on my second monitor while he spoke. This is a really important night for me. I'm finally launching my own consulting business after 30 years in banking. The people attending are serious professionals. I understand, Dad. Your mother and I thought it might be uncomfortable for you. Andrew will be there with Melissa, she just made junior partner. The Hendersons are bringing their son who works in private equity. We're trying to create a certain atmosphere. A certain atmosphere that didn't include his daughter who'd built a company worth more than every attendee's net worth combined. It's fine, Dad. I have work anyway. That's my girl. Always understanding. He paused. How's the computer work going? Still doing the coding thing? I glanced at my screen showing real-time analytics from our global operations serving 847 enterprise clients. Still doing the coding thing. Well, maybe one day you'll move into management or something more stable. Tech jobs can be volatile. I was literally management of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Maybe, Dad. After we hung up, my assistant knocked. The CNBC crew confirmed everything for Saturday. They want to film you at your home office in the morning, then follow you to the headquarters for the B-roll of the development team. The interview portion will be Saturday evening. Saturday evening. The exact time of Dad's event. That works, I said. The CNBC crew arrived at my house at 8 a.m. My home, a modern 7,200 square foot property in an exclusive neighborhood, apparently impressed their producer. This is incredible, she said, looking around my home office with its wall of windows overlooking the city. Perfect for the documentary aesthetic we're going for. The interviewer, a well-known financial journalist named David Morrison, shook my hand. Ms. Harrison, thank you for participating in our Tech Titans documentary series. Your story, building a $6.8 billion company from a college dorm room, is exactly the kind of narrative our viewers want to see. We spent 3 hours filming. They captured shots of me working, reviewing code, video conferencing with our London office. David asked thoughtful questions about my journey, the challenges of being a young female CEO in a male-dominated industry, and how I'd managed to scale so quickly. Your parents must be incredibly proud, he said during the interview segment. I smiled diplomatically. They've always encouraged me to work hard. Do they understand what you've built here? I paused. The hammer was rolling. I think they're still figuring it out. At 2 p.m., we moved to Nexus headquarters, a gleaming glass building in the tech district with our logo prominently displayed. The crew filmed our development floor, interviewed some of my senior team, and captured footage of our latest AI integration demonstrations. We'll need some evening shots, the producer said. The lighting is perfect around 6 p.m. We'd like to film you leaving the office, maybe getting into your car, that sort of thing. Really drive home the day in the life angle. 6 p.m. works perfectly, I said. That was exactly when Dad's event started. Dad's business launch was at the Riverside Hotel, a nice but not extravagant venue he'd probably gotten a deal on through his banking connections. The ballroom could hold maybe 150 people. My company's last product launch had been at the convention center. Attendance, 3,400. I wasn't planning to go. I told Dad I wouldn't. I had my own filming schedule. But at 5:30 p.m. my assistant called. The crew is running about 40 minutes behind. Technical issue with one of the cameras. They're asking if we can push the evening shots to 6:40. 6:40 p.m. The event would be well underway by then. That's fine, I said. Then on impulse, actually the Riverside Hotel is only 8 blocks from here. Tell them to meet me there instead. We can get some nice exterior shots, then film me heading home. My assistant paused. The Riverside Hotel? Isn't that where your father's event is? Yes, I said simply. It'll be fine. I didn't change out of what I'd been wearing for filming. A tailored navy blue suit that had cost $3,400, hair and makeup professionally done for the cameras. The CNBC crew followed in their van while I drove my Tesla Model S Plaid. Not exactly low profile, but I wasn't trying to hide. We pulled up to the riverside at 6:35 p.m. The producer loved the lighting. "This is perfect. We'll get some shots of you walking toward the entrance, maybe checking your phone." Very busy executive vibe. I could see through the hotel's glass doors into the ballroom. The event was in full swing. Maybe 80 people in business attire networking with cocktails. I spotted Dad immediately. He was laughing with a group of older men in suits, probably former banking colleagues. Mom stood near the registration table in a dress I recognized from Nordstrom. Andrew and his wife Melissa were talking to the Hendersons. My brother Marcus was at the bar. None of them had noticed the CNBC van or the film crew setting up outside. "Okay, Miss Harrison," David said. "Just walk naturally toward the entrance. We're going to film you from behind, then get a shot of you pausing to check your phone." Very casual, very authentic. I walked slowly toward the entrance, the camera following. I could see my reflection in the glass doors. Professional, polished, successful. Everything my parents had wanted me to be in a package they didn't recognize. I paused near the doors as directed, checking my phone. Through the glass, I saw Andrew glance toward the entrance. He did a double take, then grabbed Melissa's arm and pointed. The producer called out, "Perfect. Now if you could just..." The hotel doors burst open. The event coordinator, a young woman with a clipboard, rushed out. "Excuse me. Are you filming? You can't film here without permission from..." She stopped, staring at me. "Wait. You're Jennifer Harrison. From Nexus Enterprise Solutions." I smiled politely. "Yes, I'm..." "Oh my God. My company uses your software. I literally use your AI assistant interface every single day." She turned to the film crew. "What's happening? Is this for news?" David stepped forward with his credentials. "David Morrison, CNBC. We're filming a documentary segment for our Tech Titans series. We were just getting some exterior shots before Ms. Harrison heads home." The coordinator's eyes went wide. "A documentary? About you? Here?" She glanced back into the ballroom where several people, including my father, had now noticed the commotion and were staring at the entrance. "We can move to a different location if this is disruptive," I said calmly. No, this is incredible. Do you need to come inside? Better lighting? Oh my God, wait until I tell my boss that Jennifer Harrison was here." The ballroom doors opened again. This time it was Dad with Mom right behind him, both looking confused and slightly irritated. "Jennifer." Dad's voice was sharp. "What are you doing here? I thought we agreed." He stopped mid-sentence, finally registering the CNBC van, the professional film crew, the cameras pointed in my direction. Mom stared. "What is all this?" David stepped forward smoothly, extending his hand. "David Morrison, CNBC Financial News. You must be Jennifer's parents. We're filming a documentary segment about your daughter for our Tech Titans series. She's been incredibly gracious with her time." Dad's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion. Recognition. Disbelief. Tech Titans. Mom repeated faintly. "Yes, ma'am," David continued. "We're profiling the most influential tech entrepreneurs who've revolutionized their industries. Your daughter's company, Nexus Enterprise Solutions, has been a fascinating case study. From a college startup to a $6.8 billion valuation in just 12 years. It's really unprecedented growth." The silence that followed was deafening. Behind them, more people had crowded into the doorway. Andrew's mouth was literally hanging open. Melissa, the attorney, was staring at her phone screen, clearly having just Googled me. Marcus pushed through the crowd. "Wait, 6.8 billion? Jenny, what is he talking about?" I met his eyes calmly. "I run a software company. Enterprise Solutions, AI integration, cloud-based infrastructure. We went public 4 years ago." "Public?" Dad's voice cracked slightly. "As in, the stock market?" "Stat. Nastic. Stock symbol NE. We're up 14% this quarter." The event coordinator was practically vibrating with excitement. "Mr. Harrison, your daughter is literally one of the most successful tech CEOs in the country. She's been on the Forbes billionaires list for 3 years. Mom's face had gone completely pale. Billionaire? Jenny, how did we not know about this? It was a fair question. The answer was simple. They'd never asked. They'd never Googled my company name. They'd never read a single article I'd sent them. They'd dismissed my success so completely that they'd missed 12 years of very public achievements. I'd been featured on magazine covers they'd never picked up. I'd given keynote speeches at conferences they'd never attended. I'd built something extraordinary, and they'd been so certain I was failing that they never noticed I was succeeding beyond their wildest imagination. I tried to tell you, I said quietly. Multiple times. You called it computer work, and changed the subject. The cameras were still rolling. David Morrison, to his credit as a journalist, recognized great television when he saw it and gestured for his crew to keep filming. Andrew found his voice first. This is insane. Jenny, you're saying you run $1 billion company. 6.8 billion, Melissa corrected, still staring at her phone. Holy shit. Andrew, she's worth, according to Forbes, her personal net worth is $2.1 billion. The number hung in the air like a bomb. Dad's face had gone from pale to red. $2 billion? Jennifer, that's not possible. You never said anything about this level of... Dad. My voice was calm but firm. I've been trying to tell you for 12 years. When I turned down Microsoft, I told you I had investors and clients. You told me to get a real job. When I bought my house, you asked how I could afford it. I said the company was doing well. You said it was a tech bubble. When we went public, I sent you the Wall Street Journal article. You never read it. Mom's hand was over her mouth. The house. Your house. I thought you'd overextended yourself on a mortgage. I paid cash. $2.8 million. Your car, Marcus said faintly. That Tesla. That's like a $120,000 car. Actually, it's $138,000 with the specifications I wanted. I have 3 of them. Different colors. The crowd from Dad's event had now completely abandoned any pretense of networking and had gathered in the doorway and lobby area, watching this family drama unfold with rapt attention. David Morrison stepped forward again. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, did you really not know about your daughter's success? Jennifer's been featured in Forbes, Fortune, Bloomberg Businessweek, TechCrunch. She gave a keynote at the World Economic Forum in Davos last year. Dad's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Mom found her voice, though it shook. We thought she worked in tech support or website design. Something like that. She never talked about it in detail. Because you never asked, I said not unkindly. When I tried to explain what Nexus does, you changed the subject. When I invited you to our product launches, you were busy. When I asked you to visit my office, you said you didn't understand that tech stuff. But... Mom gestured helplessly. Why didn't you just tell us directly? Sit us down and explain. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Mom, I'm wearing a suit that costs more than your car payment. I've been on the cover of 3 major business magazines in the last year. My company has buildings in 4 countries with our logo on them. The information was never hidden. You just weren't looking. Andrew's wife Melissa was still scrolling on her phone. Oh my God. Andrew, look at this. She was named one of Time's 100 most influential people 2 years ago. How did we miss this? Because you were busy telling everyone about Andrew making junior partner, I said quietly. Which is a great achievement, truly. But you held it up as the family success story while completely missing that I'd built something 1,000 times larger. The hotel coordinator interrupted nervously. Miss Harrison? Should we move this inside? Your father's guests are kind of all out here now. I looked at the crowd. 80 people who'd come to celebrate my father's new consulting venture, now witnessing the revelation that his daughter, the family disappointment, was one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the country. Dad finally found his voice. Jenny, I don't understand. Why would you not make sure we knew? Why would you let us think? Let you think what, Dad? That I was struggling? That I was wasting my potential? Kept my voice level. I sent you articles. I invited you to events. I tried to share my wins with you. But every time I mentioned Nexus, you glazed over. Every time I talked about my work, you asked when I'd get a real career. What exactly should I have done differently? Mom was crying now. We're your parents. You should have made us understand. You're right, I said. I should have sat you down and forced you to listen. I should have demanded you acknowledge my success. But honestly, after a while, it felt like I was begging for scraps of approval from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth being proud of. So I stopped trying. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Mom's crying and the soft whir of CNBC's cameras still capturing everything. Marcus stepped forward, his face a mixture of emotions I couldn't quite read. Jenny, I'm sorry. I really am. We made assumptions. Bad ones. I nodded. I appreciate that, Marcus. Dad was staring at the ground. When he looked up, there were tears in his eyes. I told you to get a real job. I told you Microsoft was the smart choice. I spent 12 years thinking you were. God, Jenny. I'm your father. How did I not see this? You saw what you expected to see, I said simply. I didn't fit the narrative you had in your head of what success looks like, so you didn't recognize it when it was right in front of you. David Morrison, sensing the conversation was reaching a natural pause, stepped in. Ms. Harrison, we should probably wrap up the filming. We have enough footage, and this seems like it might be a private family moment. I nodded gratefully. Thank you, David. I appreciate your professionalism. As the crew began packing up their equipment, the crowd slowly dispersed back into the ballroom, though the energy of Dad's event was clearly ruined. What do you say to your business associates after they've just witnessed that? The event coordinator approached timidly. Ms. Harrison, I just want to say, your software changed my career. The AI tools, the integration capabilities. I went from drowning in work to actually having time to think strategically. So thank you. I smiled at her. That's exactly why we built it. Thank you for sharing that. She hesitated. Also, for what it's worth, my parents didn't understand my work either. Not until I could explain it in terms they related to. Sometimes the success we build doesn't look like the success they imagined for us. After she left, it was just my family standing in the hotel lobby. Dad, Mom, Marcus, Andrew, and Melissa all staring at me like I was a stranger. I need to go, I said finally. I have an early meeting tomorrow with the Department of Commerce about our new government contracts. Government contracts? Dad echoed weakly. 12 of them. Total value about $340 million. We're providing secure infrastructure solutions for 3 federal agencies. I picked up my bag. Congratulations on your new consulting business, Dad. I genuinely hope it does well. I made it 3 steps toward my car before Mom called out. Jennifer, wait. I turned. He was crying harder now. Can we talk? Really talk? About all of this? I looked at her, then at Dad, who was still looking shell-shocked. At Marcus, who'd always been kind but never quite defended me. At Andrew, who'd been held up as the golden child while I was dismissed. Maybe, I said finally. But not tonight. Tonight, I need to process the fact that it took a CNBC film crew for my own parents to realize I wasn't a failure. The CNBC documentary aired 3 weeks later. Jennifer Harrison, the Invisible Billionaire, became one of their highest-rated episodes. The segment about my parents' reaction was edited tastefully but clearly. The moment they realized their daughter was worth $2.1 billion went viral on social media. My phone started ringing the day after it aired. Dad called 4 times before I answered. Jenny. His voice was hoarse. Everyone's seen it. Everyone knows that I didn't know my own daughter was. He couldn't finish the sentence. A billionaire? I supplied. The CEO of a company more valuable than every business of everyone who was at your event combined. Yes, he whispered. That. Dad, do you understand why I'm hurt? I'm trying to. God, Jenny, I'm trying. Watching that documentary. Hearing you say you stopped trying to get our approval. It broke something in me. I sat down at my desk looking out over the city. You told me to get a real job. For 12 years. I was running a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and you thought I needed career advice. I know. I was so wrong. About everything. He paused. Your mother hasn't stopped crying. She watched the documentary 7 times, taking notes on every accomplishment she missed. She has a whole notebook, Jenny. 12 years of your achievements that she just overlooked. Despite my anger, that image cracked something in my chest. What do you want from me, Dad? I don't know. Forgiveness. A chance to start over? To actually know my daughter instead of the version of her I made up in my head. His voice broke. To be proud of you the way I should have been all along? You can be proud of me, I said quietly. But it's going to take time for me to trust that it's real. That you actually see me now and not just the dollar signs. I understand. Whatever time you need. I need you to know that I'm sorry. So deeply, truly sorry. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. My assistant knocked gently. Ms. Harrison? The Forbes interviewer is here for your follow-up piece. The Forbes article titled "When Family Doesn't See Your Success" became one of their most shared pieces of the year. I was honest about the pain of being dismissed by the people whose approval I'd once craved. I was honest about the loneliness of building an empire while your own parents think you're wasting your potential. But I was also honest about the power of proving yourself right. Of building something extraordinary not for approval but because you believed in it. 6 months later, I invited my parents to Nexus headquarters for an official tour. Not a quick visit. A full-day experience where they could see every department, meet my leadership team, and understand what I'd actually built. Dad cried 3 separate times. Once in the main lobby when he saw our company timeline displayed on a massive digital wall, showing our growth from a 3-person startup to a global corporation. Once when my head of AI demonstrated the technology that was revolutionizing enterprise solutions. And once when one of my young developers, a 24-year-old woman, told him, "Your daughter changed my life." I was the only woman in my computer science program and everyone told me to quit. Then I read Ms. Harrison's interview about perseverance and I kept going. Now I'm here building the future. Mom asked more questions than I'd ever heard her ask about my work. Real questions. Thoughtful questions. She took notes on her phone. At the end of the day, we stood in my corner office with its panoramic city views. The same office where I'd received Dad's dismissive calls about getting a real job. "I'll never forgive myself," Dad said quietly, looking out at the skyline. "For not seeing this. For not seeing you." "You're seeing me now," I replied. "That's a start." Mom hugged me tightly. "I'm so proud of you. I know I don't have the right to say that after everything, but I am. So incredibly proud." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. A beginning. My parents would never fully understand the technology one built or the markets I disrupted. But they were trying. They came to my next keynote speech. They read the articles I sent. When I was featured on the cover of Time, Dad framed it and put it in his office. He closed his consulting business after 8 months. It never really recovered from the night everyone realized his computer girl daughter was worth more than anyone in the room. But he seemed okay with it. He'd spent 30 years building someone else's success. Now he was retired and he spent his time learning about mine. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. But sometimes, it absolutely is. And sometimes, the people who need to see your success the most are the ones who are most certain you'd fail. I built a $6.8 billion empire not because my parents doubted me but despite it. Their doubt was never the fuel. My own belief was. But I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some satisfaction in the moment Dad's face went pale, standing in that hotel lobby, realizing that his daughter wasn't a disappointment. He was a titan. And she always had been.